Hey, rise and shine. So, I understand that the BBC released a documentary last night. It's the first part in several parts. I believe it's on again tonight. And it focuses on colourism within the black community, something that we're aware exists. And particularly it focuses on the negative impact it has on those of a lighter complexion and mixed race individuals. So we're aware that there is a level of discrimination that exists within that dynamic, and the documentary explores it in detail. So I had a few things I wanted to say about it. Obviously, being a person of colour, having people in my family, all shades, light skin, darker skin, you name it, and my own personal experiences and how that fits into it. It's quite an interesting topic, but at the same time, it's a topic that makes me feel as though we're going over old ground, and that we're again revisiting trauma, as opposed to maybe focusing on solutions. But I guess the flip side to that would be that in order for us to get to solutions, we have to go down the path and diagnose where the hurt comes from, and then take it from there. But just focusing on the documentary, especially in regards to what will be released tonight, how it impacts mixed race people. There's, as somebody who has dated mixed race women, as somebody who has mixed race people in their family, nieces and nephews and cousins, I'm aware of their experiences. I'm aware of how society views them, and I'm aware that there is discrimination from inside the community and as well as outside the community. There's also an identity issue that exists there. So for example, I've dated mixed race girls, and some of them will more identify with the black race due to their social group and their upbringing, whereas there's those who aren't really too sure where they stand, and although they may try and maybe identify with one particular race, it kind of comes across as though it's a conflict there, a conflict of interest perhaps. So it can be quite complicated, and I don't know what it's like to walk in the shoes of somebody who's mixed race. I don't know what their personal experiences are like, but I'll give you two examples. So one example was I was dating this mixed race girl, and we were both into the blues, and I used to go around the house and I used to watch a lot of programs that were like centered around the blues. And this one particular program that we were watching starred Eric Clapton. And I mentioned to her that, as much as I like Eric Clapton, and I think he's a very talented man, several years back, he made a very racist outburst at a show where he referred to black people in a very derogative light. And he spoke on Enoch Powell and how he praises Enoch Powell. Now, those who are aware of Enoch Powell, he was a very racist politician back in the 1960s, I believe, who was pretty much known for telling black people to go back home. So, it was quite surprising to me when I had found out that Eric Clapton had said such things, considering that he had immersed himself and made a living out of black culture, particularly black music. So for me, that was quite interesting. And I brought that up to her, and her first reaction, without her doing any research or being even aware of, the what I was talking about, her first reaction was to go on the defensive and try and defend Eric Clapton. Oh, well, no, he can't be racist because he makes music with black people, and you don't know what you're talking about, and you have a chip on your shoulder. And she started going off on a tangent. And I thought to myself, well, that's interesting, because number one, I didn't say that he was a racist, but I just said what he said was clearly racist. And the fact that she felt so defensive about it made me kind of look at her with a side eye. Because as a black man, when you hear people speak in that manner, it brings up hurt, it brings up pain, and it brings up a distrust, especially if that person's been somewhat welcomed into the black community. So the fact that she was defending this man blindly without having done her own research. Now, I wouldn't have minded had she have, like, you know, did her background research and she had an opposing view to mine based on the research that she carried out. But it was almost like a knee-jerk reaction where she just blindly defended this man. No, he can't be racist. He's around black people. He makes music with black people. Well, what exactly does that mean? Because even during the height of slavery, there was that relationship between black and white people where we would dance and we would jig for them, and I'm pretty sure they would probably, like, you know, sing alongside us at times, but then it would be back to business, you know, the next day or later on that day. You go back to the fields and I go back to, you know, benefiting off your struggle. So, you know, that doesn't really mean anything to me. That doesn't mean anything at all. That doesn't mean that you're not racist. So I was trying to get that across to her, and she couldn't understand it. And again, the whole chip on your shoulder kind of came into play, which I don't understand why that came into play, because what I'm saying is public knowledge. You can go and look it up. You can Google it. You can do your background research. I'm not pulling things out of the air, and I'm not trying to kind of bring the man down in any way, but I'm just trying to give balance to who the man is and his character. So she felt very uncomfortable that I brought that up, and that made me very uncomfortable in turn being in her presence. So that was one experience. There was another experience where I was seeing this girl and she was into classical music. So we would often go to the Royal Albert Hall, and I'd go with her because I wanted to kind of involve myself in things that she had an interest in. So we would go to the Royal Albert Hall, and I'd pay for us to go there, and we would watch a lot of classical shows there. So we would usually watch the classical shows from standing ground level. On this one occasion, after going there several times, I decided I wanted to watch the show from up in the stands in the balcony. So I said to her, well, let's go up there and let's go and watch the show. So, you know, we got there nice and early. Hardly anybody had arrived. It was probably about maybe 20% full. As we got there, check this out. As we got there and we went up to the balcony, I noticed that what everybody was doing, everybody who was actually in attendance there was leaving their bags as a way of, like, trying to kind of like save trying to save a space for their friends who hadn't quite turned up yet. So we would go to one balcony, it would be full of bags. So we're like, okay, well, we can't stand and watch the show from here. Let's go to another balcony. After doing this several times, I said to her, look, this is ridiculous. Look, we're here now, and these people are trying to kind of like withhold a space for their friends and family and what have you, who aren't actually here now. So I'm gonna, you know, the next balcony that I go to, I'm watching the show from there. I don't care. So I decided to do that. Now this it just so happened it was a white lady who was standing there when I got to the next balcony, and I decided to stand next to her to watch the show. And she's like, oh, well, no, actually, she didn't actually say anything. She didn't say anything, but I could tell that she was annoyed by my presence there, because she was tutting and heaving and puffing and all the rest of it. So, you know, I didn't really pay much mind to it. So anyway, as we were waiting there, me and this girl, mixed race girl, I won't say her name, this white guy approaches us, and he's like, oh, well, you know, you can't stand there because you know, we're reserving these spaces for our friends, you know, that's why we've got the bags here. I said, well, your friends aren't here now, and I am, but when your friends arrive, they're free to join us, so they can stand next to us, or they can watch the show from behind us, but they're not going to be watching the show in front of us. He's like, well, that's just the way we do things here. I'm a member. So I lied and I said, well, I'm a member too. So I said to him, look, I don't want to argue with you, but if there's any signs or notifications that clarify what you're saying is indeed true, then feel free to have the space. So I was very conscious not to play into the black stereotype of being aggressive and being loud and, you know, all the rest of it. I was just purely reasoning with this guy. So anyway, this guy then tried to kind of like nudge his way in front of me, and I said to him, I said, look, please don't touch me, okay? Because if I nudge you, then it's going to be, you know, you're going to then play the victim, and I'm going to get thrown out. So don't put your hands on me, okay? I'm being very reasonable with what I'm saying. So I said to him, look, here's the thing. If there's an usher that's walking past, or a member of staff, if they can clarify what you're saying is true, then feel free to keep, then feel free to have the space, and I'm going to keep it moving. With this now, the girl that I'm with, she says loudly, Ruben, you are embarrassing me. So I'm thinking to myself, well, how am I embarrassing you? Because I'm only standing up for myself. I'm not cursing. I'm not raising my voice. I'm not, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not imposing. I'm not trying to be any of those things. I'm just purely reasoning with this guy. And as a man, I should be able to stand up for myself. So she's this mixed race girl that I'm with, who, by the way, I paid for both of us to get in to the show. Anyway, she's like, Ruben, you're embarrassing me. So she says it again. This time she said it more loudly. I'm fed up now. So I said, you know what? Forget about it. I don't want to watch the show anymore. So I walked towards the entrance. Sorry, towards the exit. My mistake. As I walked towards the exit, she's like, oh, she's surprised now. She's like, oh, I'm like, how come we're leaving? So I said to her, well, how am I embarrassing you? How am I embarrassing you? Did I curse? Did I raise my voice? Was I disrespectful? Or was I merely reasoning as a man? So why did you feel embarrassed by the fact that I'm standing up for myself? She couldn't answer. Oh, well, it's just that I felt like, you felt like what? What, am I supposed to feel some type of way because I'm around these people who might be affluent, who maybe look down on me for being a part of this kind of classical music show because there's not many people of color there. So it's almost like, well, what's he doing here, first of all? And what kind of irked me was the fact that a lot of the performers were actually black performers. So it's okay to watch us perform for you, but me actually being there in attendance to watch black people perform is somewhat of an issue. I said, by the way, didn't you used to work here? Didn't you used to work at the Royal Albert Hall? So you must be aware of the policy. Oh, well, no. Look, here's the thing. If I'm embarrassing you, then maybe you shouldn't be with me. Maybe you shouldn't be with a black guy. Maybe you should be with a white guy. Because one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to bend for anybody, black, white, whatever color. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stand up for myself because that's my right as a man. And if I feel that I've paid my money to see a show, I should be entitled to see the show. I'm not less than anybody else, and I'm not more than anybody else. So there was that experience. So she had to go away and investigate, well, why does she feel embarrassed by me as a black man standing up for myself? So these are just some of the issues that I've had with mixed race women. Not to say that all mixed race women are like that, but these two particular mixed race women were like that. So it's funny how that exists. And I can understand the pain that mixed race people have, because I'm aware that some darker skinned people do air their frustration out on mixed race people. And there's a history to that goes back, where mixed race people were in some cases given some level of privilege over darker skinned black people. And as a result of that, there was a resentment that was built up there. And it comes from the same pain and the same hurt. So I'm always willing to stand up for black people, whether you're fairer skin, darker skin, whatever the case may be. And we have to explore that, we do. And that's not right. It's not right irrespective of which way it goes. But there's also a history of mixed race people who have used their mixed race to their advantage and made it to certain heights, and have then kind of shitted on people who are darker skin. And we also had to explore that as well. So these are two issues that need to be explored. But the last thing, and I'll just finish up by saying, is this. The issue that I have with these programs is that they tend to focus a lot on the negatives. And there's a lot of positives that are involved within being mixed race, within being light skinned black, and also within being darker skinned black as well. And we need to start focusing more on the positives rather than just purely focus on the negatives. It's okay if we start with the investigation there, but we finish with the evaluation and the resolve being one in which we can advance and elevate ourselves. So it's just one of those things that we need to kind of think about. And yeah, that's my 2 cents.